Welcome to this NPTEL and EdTech Society workshop on guiding postgraduate research students. I am Sridhar Iyer, a professor in education technology at IIT Bombay. I also happen to be the president of EdTech Society. The first session we'll just do a little bit of introduction. So about NPTEL Plus, since many of you have joined, you must be already knowing that NPTEL Plus is an extension of NPTEL where the NPTEL courses are available in self-paced mode. And it also has short-term training programs from IITs, ISCs and other partner institutions, EdTech Society being one of them, as well as some other programs. Now what is EdTech Society? It is a public forum for professionals set up as a non-profit association. It is committed to improving instruction and learning through the use of education technologies. EdTech Society was launched in April 2022 and currently it has about 370 members, 2 online events per month and conducts a conference called T4E per year. So why is this interesting to you is that it would be good for you to join as a member of this EdTech Society and participate in many of these events. So these are all focused on use of educational technologies for teaching and learning. A little bit about the department. So the education technology program at IIT Bombay started as an interdisciplinary program in 2010. Currently we have 6 core faculty and a number of associate faculty. We offer a PhD program for which there are 45 research scholars and about 25 of whom have graduated. We also offer an MTech program which started in 2019. Like any other department, we do research, development and outreach, and for more information you can visit our website. Now coming to something about me. So I have been a faculty member at IIT Bombay since 1999 and I have guided more than 25 PhD students on varied topics. So this is kind of my credibility for offering this workshop. So these have been diverse topics such as software architecture, to designing e-learning animations, to teaching vernacular medium students, as well as many topics and practices in computing education research. So for more information about me, you can go to my web page by googling Sridhar Iyer IIT Bombay. Okay, having seen that much about me, let us also get to know you. So for this workshop, we will be using Mentimeter for interaction. So you can scan this QR code or open a new tab and type the code 87435685 and answer the question. So I will wait for about 50 responses. Okay, now that most of you have finished responding to this question, let me go to the next question. I see that about most people are faculty and some are PhD students. So there are 3 questions that we will be doing using Mentimeter. That was the first one. Now let me also ask the second question to understand how many of you have guided PhD students or master's students for research. Okay, I see that a number of you are PhD guides and several people have guided master students as well as mentored student projects. That's great. So hopefully this workshop will be of some use to you. So moving on to the third question, I would like to know what your expectations are from this workshop. And as many participants as can reply would be great. Okay, I see a number of responses saying how to help students, how to not guide students, how to motivate them, mentoring, better professor, process of research, systematic way of guiding, holistic mentoring, pitfalls to avoid, self-growth, student and self-growth, no strategies to be a good mentor, improve my research skill, okay, methods to follow, learn from mistakes, do's and don'ts. Okay, so that's a pretty good range of responses. So, and let us just now align some expectations. Okay, so this workshop is not about how to do research. This workshop is about how to guide students. Okay, so as it says, the description given on the registration page, the workshop is targeted towards faculty who are new to the process of guiding PhD and master students. Okay, so it will also be useful to future faculty, that is postdocs and senior PhD students who are inclined to a faculty role. So who is the intended audience for this workshop? Luckily, many of you fall in this category. That is, the primary audience is faculty in the process of guiding their first few PhD students. The secondary audience is postdocs and senior PhD students who are considering a faculty role. Now, if you are an early stage PhD student or a master's student who has joined this workshop, you are welcome to stay, but many of these things will make more sense after you graduate. And if you are an experienced faculty who has already graduated PhD students, you are welcome to share your perspective through the various means of interaction that we have. Okay, now coming to the scope of this workshop is not specific to a particular discipline. Okay, hence we are not going to go into the content of any discipline, be it computer science or education or any other engineering or science discipline. The primary scope of this workshop is sharing of some practices and experiences for guiding PhD students in their research. And the secondary scope is some of these practices will also apply for guiding master students. So even though I will be mostly talking about PhD students, many of the points will apply to some extent for guiding master students also. So let's also understand what is out of scope. Okay, so the discussion on the research process itself, that is out of scope. Okay, it is assumed that you know how to do research and you are now ready to guide others along the path. Also, discussion of guiding practices in any specific domain is out of scope. This workshop is at a generalized level. So for example, some disciplines may have laboratory intensive practices, others may have theory intensive practices, and they may have very specific practices. So we are not going to be talking about any such practices. We are going to talk about guiding students in general from a human perspective. And we are not going to have discussion of specific students, right? So it's not for resolving challenges that you may be facing with a specific student, nor is it a forum to lament about student nowadays, you know, they don't work, whatever. Okay. So having understood that, let us look at how is this workshop likely to be useful to you. So most of you who are faculty have gone through the PhD or postdoc process as a student, and now you have to look at it from the advisor or the guide perspective. Many of you who are senior PhD students or who have completed PhD also might want to look at the process from a guide perspective. So why is this different? This is different because in addition to doing research yourself, you are now responsible for a student's growth as a researcher, a thinker and a person. And it's a much larger responsibility than mentoring juniors on specific topics or guiding interns or undergraduate projects. So as you find your own way to guide your students, it might be useful for you to listen to another person's approach, and hence this workshop is being conducted. So what is the structure of this workshop? So day 1, which is today, we will be focusing on a lot of conceptual ideas such as the PhD continuum, how to align the guide and the students, and help you identify your philosophy about this process. Okay, so we will have a live interaction at the end of the session, and there will be a home assignment which will have to be submitted for the certification. The next day we will look at more operational aspects, which is the guiding process. We will go into examples and some common concerns, and there will be another assignment at the end of that day too. So for those of you who need the certificate, the requirement is that you need to participate in the in-workshop activities and submit the home assignments, and also adhere to the honor code, that is the answers that you submit are your own and you did not outsource the work to someone else or simply ask some generative AI and write the answer. Okay, just to give you a quick idea, what are the assignments? There are 2 assignments, one for each day of the workshop. They have mostly open-ended reflection questions for you to answer, and to help you with it, you will start answering them as part of the session activity itself. Okay, and mostly what you will have to do is to compile your answers and submit it as a Google form at the end of the day. The thing to remember is that it may be difficult to answer the questions comprehensively at one go, so it is better to do them one by one as we are doing the activities. It will also be unproductive if you are not honest in your answers. So the recommendation here is that start with writing the first couple of points that you come to mind whenever a question is being asked for reflection, and then you can refine them later. Okay, so what are the expectations from you? The expectation is that you will participate in the activities and not simply listen to the lecture. And you should not forget your own student days. As you move towards becoming a guide, it's also important to remember how you were as a student. And during the activities, you will be asked to switch roles. Sometimes you will be playing the role of a reflective student, and sometimes you will be playing the role of a research guide. And these slides will be indicated with these icons for student as well as for guide. Okay, so before we dive into it, some disclaimers. So this workshop is structured as a series of questions to ask yourself, and I have given my own answers as one data point for you. Okay, it's possible that you may not agree with me, and that's fine. This is just one example for you to look at. Second is, these answers are my personal philosophy and approach. Okay, so they may not work for you or your students or your institutional constraints. So you need to be aware of the alternatives and the pros and cons before you decide your own approach. And the third one is, many of you may know many of these points already. Nevertheless, if you find 1 or 2 new ideas that you want to consider, our time is well spent. Okay, so to repeat, this is not a institutional position, but it is my individual position on how to guide research students. Okay, so we'll give you a 1-minute break since there was a little bit of a glitch in the start.